Hello everybody and welcome to the Action Figure-atorium. My name is Mark Major. I am a real big toy collector here in Southeast Portland, and that's right, Shaka Zulu people, Shaka Zulu. And today I'm going to be doing a thrift store toy rescue story. This is for an action figure that I managed to pay a whopping $3 for at my local Goodwill. You may have seen these, or you may not even know these exist, in which case you might start looking around for these now, because this toy is something that's kind of in the bin of what would make a great custom, in my opinion. And it is this 10-inch sort of futuristic football robot that is the mascot for the Fox NFL broadcasts. And so we're going to look at this today. We're going to look at the deco and the articulation on it and talk about the weight of this thing, what it's good at, what it's bad at. But we're also going to talk about the concept of this thing in general and how it got made and how they sell these things. So everybody come together, strap on that leather, and hold on tight. As I mentioned before, this thing is named CLEATUS, probably because he's got cleats on his shoes. I guess that's the joke. This thing is about 20 plus years old. It was a concept that some marketing guy came up with to have a sort of futuristic football robot be the mascot for Fox's NFL broadcast. He comes out, you know, in between commercials and dances and does all sorts of stuff like that. And of course, eventually what you got to do with all sorts of mascots is you need to make tchotchkes out of them. This is actually, believe it or not, the second generation of these toys that they made. There's actually another version that predates this that is not as good as this guy. Also, just so everybody knows, this particular one that I got here is missing the huge hulking sort of World of Warcraft orc shoulders, which would make him look particularly cool, but that's okay. You know, when you pay as low a price as I did for this thing, you get what you get. Now, the deal about this action figure and how it got made is essentially we're going to go to a little Google image search. Here we go. Cut over. So here you can see all the different iterations of this guy, and you can see that there is a bunch of different NFL teams as well as college football teams that have their colors and branding on it, in addition to the Fox logo on the breastplate, as it were. And the deal behind this is that these guys can have one mold at the factory and crank out tons of these figures and then give each one its own sort of custom paint job that corresponds with the NFL team. And then of course they ship them to that city or state, and they can stock all the sort of gift shops and sports shops and places where you might buy jerseys and cups and hats and all that kind of, you know, swag, as we like to call it. And you can sell these guys, these robot figures, right alongside all that other stuff. And so this allows Fox to be able to actually put this thing into production and get their minimum order quantity, which is the magical thing needed for you to make an action figure. Is the factory that makes it needs to make X amount of them for it to be worth their while. And so that's how these things got put into production, to the point where you can see that there are even some older versions. Like this is kind of the original version they made. And then of course the one that I have is something more like this, right? A little bit more of kind of like a sort of a halo looking kind of space marine armor, especially with like the, you know, the big boots, that kind of deal. And so I thought we should take a look at this over on the bench and just see how they actually got this thing to work. So let me cut over there. Turn this so you can see where I'm at. Okay, so this guy. Let's start at the bottom here. He has hinges on the toes, which is pretty amazing. The feet rock back and forth. There is a ratchet for The knees, look at that, knees bend, and they actually all move pretty well. Now when you get to the top of the legs and the thighs there's a swivel that they put on this. Check that out. There's a ball joint at the top, and of course it's got its own rocker. So that all moves really well. And then he's got a he doesn't move back, and the torso doesn't move back and forth, but it does have a rotating midsection, which is pretty cool, and you can get him to do some pretty cool poses. He does have a rocking back and forth at the elbow joint. There is a ball joint at the wrist, but the fingers do not move. They are currently in this sort of clutched position, right? Like he's, some sort of villain. And the other side, the football is permanently glued to the hand. So if you want to take the football off, you're going to have to cut it off. You're going to have to rip it off. Okay. Now, as I stated before, I'm missing the shoulders, but he does have ball joints at the shoulders, and they do, of course, rock up and down, in addition to moving all around, and there is a swivel there. So he has a lot of articulation. Ball joint on the head, looks up and down, moves around. Very kind of cool guy. He's got some sort of like, I don't know what you could put. There's some kind of like a quiver or something on his back. Don't know what that's all about. But I have to say, right out of the gate, this is a huge hunking piece of plastic. This thing is super heavy. I weighed it. It weighs 1 pound, 5 ounces. So with the shoulder pads, if it had it, it would be about 1.5 pounds. But he looks cool, despite the fact that he's got a football. And this one, of course, has got the, I don't know if you're familiar with any of the college teams, but he's got the Oregon Ducks, which is why it's at my Goodwill, because I live in Oregon, and you're going to see a bunch of Oregon Duck stuff. So he's got that for his logos, etc. I do not like the face mask on it, but you got to make him football some ways. Otherwise, he's just kind of a robot, right? You remove the football and the mask, you just got like a generic kind of a Halo dude. But he does some pretty cool poses. He stands up pretty well. They designed him quite well to balance. I gotta say though that he, with time, right? I don't know how old this guy is. I couldn't find any copyrights or manufacturing info on it like you normally find, which is kind of weird. But he's at this point the joints are starting to get a bit loose in the legs, and I think that's because the legs are so heavy on this thing that he's just starting to go loose, and they're starting to kind of give way. But I'm telling you guys, if you get one of these, you could repaint this, get rid of the football out of his hand, but you could, and take a hot knife, get rid of the mask. You could repaint this guy and make him look pretty cool, right? This could be a pretty cool figure in your set, and because he's a robot, he can be giant compared to your 1/12 scale guys, your 1/18 scale guys. He almost fits in with your 1/6 scale. He's just a tad short, but again, because he's a robot, he fits any scale, because robots can be whatever you want them to be. They're robots, people. So I think if you go on the lookout for these CLEATUS action figures and you find one for, let's say, because I don't know what they go for at retail and I don't really care, but if you find one for, let's say, $5, you should get it, because you're going to have something a lot of fun to repaint. Even if you just take rattle can and do the whole thing in like silver or something. I currently have this guy up for sale on my eBay account, right? And some of you are like, Mark, what's your eBay account? Well, I'm glad you asked. I am known as Coolbots with a Z. Thank you. And I do a monthly show called Catch and Release where I go through 10 eBay items. And this guy is probably going to be in the March edition, as he's up there right now for sale. But here's the thing. I don't think anyone's going to buy this, right? Because it's only people who collect CLEATUS figures, one, which has got to be a category of 0 people. And then it's going to have to be people who want the Oregon Ducks guy, which is going to be even less people, right? And he's missing the shoulder pads. The shoulder pads somehow come off these guys. A lot of the pictures you look online are missing the shoulder pads, so he's incomplete, right? Loose and incomplete. So that's 3 checks against this dude. However, I put it up for sale. If somebody really is looking for the Oregon Ducks CLEATUS guy, you can buy mine. He's in good condition. I like this dude a lot, but as soon as the weather gets a lot nicer and we get over 55 degrees here and you can start doing rattle canning outside, I think this guy's going to come down from eBay, and I think he's going to get the custom paint job, and I think we're going to turn him into a baller. I think this guy's going to become kind of nuts. I don't know what I'm going to do with the football. I think I'm probably going to get rid of it. I'm probably going to hack it off. I'm probably going to hack off the face guard because, you know, let's be realistic. And we're going to make this guy into some kind of a robot gladiator dude. So, again, if you see one of these, $5 or less. I'm going to say if you see one for $10, not really worth it. There's a lot of other cooler things you can put $10 into, but for $5, it's a pretty cool heavy tchotchke. So, with that, thanks to everybody who made it this far into the video, and as always, people, stay charged.